Uh, Many writers describe themselves either as character writers or plot writers. So, which are you, and what do you find? What do you find to be the hardest part of writing, if at all it is hard?
Yes, it is hard. Well, I think plot and character are both very important. So I'm not willing to let one go for the other. Although ultimately I think character is more important because character is where you can go into the nuances and depth of human psychology. And for me as a reader as well as a writer, that's what's really important. I think there's a lot of things about writing that is difficult. Um, I thought that as I wrote more and more, it would get easier, but that is not the case because your parameters keep shifting and you want to set yourself new challenges. I think what is really difficult for writing is to try and create something unique because there's always a temptation once you've done something and it's been well received to just keep doing the same thing. So what I want to do is to create something different, to push the envelope, to really come up with something innovative. And that's what I work on, something that hasn't been done before.
And I think that we see across all your books. Like they could be set in a similar way, but we've seen, at least I've read only few, but I've seen stories evolve, and probably the one amazing thing would be probably
It's
set
very
in America,
different,
right?
yes, it's set in America and it has non-Indian characters also.
Yeah, see, I'm
So
looking
that's-
forward to that actually.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's what, I mean, that's really what I want to do. I want to create something that's really different that'll make people sit up and think about life in a different way.
Wow.
That's,
So, did your editors ever question your content? Now, this may seem like a strange question, but with so many grown up gatekeepers, it's more appropriate for the children's books. Uh, would they question your content? Would they say, no, make it different, and this story is not going to get published? And
well, it's always a challenge, although I don't think people will come out and say that. I mean, I have been blessed to have good editors, so they wouldn't say that. And my agent is also very good, but they're always concerned about the marketplace because, they want books to sell, and they're not sure that with the Indian content, how much will it sell in the larger American market. So we have to talk about those issues, and I have to convince them, why is this a good story? Why is this appropriate? Why is this theme universal? Why do I think people will read it and like it and appreciate it? So, I have to always present like a little marketing plan with
and
my
that
books.
probably is always ongoing, right?
It's always ongoing.
Marketing for yourself and your books.
Yes, it's always ongoing. It's more so now than before. I think before, when I first wrote Arranged Marriage, I wrote the book, I turned it in. They said, okay, you go on tour. I said, all right. And that was it. But now it's like they have all kinds of questions. Which venues will you be welcomed at? What kind of internet presence do you have? So people have become very concerned, and I think that's because the publishing world itself is changing. It's very much in flux right now. E-books are becoming common, bookstores are dying, newspaper reviews are becoming much less. So everyone's kind of anxious about where's the market for your book. But I have to say, all of that having been said, I've really been very blessed with positive editors and publishers who've given me a lot of respect and a lot of leeway to write the books I want to write.
And probably, as little as we know you, probably the positive person you are, you could maybe turn the negative into a positive. I don't know.
Well, I do believe in being positive. I think When you put positive energy out into the world, it comes back.
Yeah, like
as
yesterday you
positive
said
energy.
that, right? Let's just focus on positive. Let's just say the book was better. And I thought that was wonderful. A lot of writers at various career points struggle with rejection, unsupportive friends or family members, mixed reviews, and their own insecurities. Our first instinct may be to think that writers like you are strangers to these. Is it true?
That's not true. When I started writing, I got a lot of rejection letters. At first, I would send something out, it would be sent back very quickly with a rejection letter. So that was painful. And in the beginning, I would get very disheartened. I would say, oh, obviously, I'll never become a writer, I'll never get published. But I just kept at it. And I think joining a writers group was very helpful because I realized that a lot of people get rejections before they become better, and then they do get published. So that was a helpful thing for me to know. And, no, I think successes and failures are often mingled. I will have
Often walk together as well.
yes. I will have one success in one area and maybe not another area. So maybe the book will do well, but then it'll be optioned for a big movie, and then they won't get funding. The movie will fall through, and we have to deal with that. Maybe the book will get nominated for an award, but it won't win the award. So, I think it's part of the writing life to be able to balance those things, and on some level to say, as long as the books are reaching readers and touching their hearts, that's the real success. Everything else is finance.
Yeah. And maybe everything, like,
Even outside writing it.
That's life, right?
Yeah.
that's life, exactly. So, what would you like to say to writers who are reading this interview and wondering if they can keep creating, if they're good enough, if their voices and visions matter enough to share?
I think the first thing is that we have to be convinced of that the story we have to tell is one worth telling. We have to be able to give up some things for it. We have to be able to create time and space in our lives to make writing a priority. And then we have to develop a thick skin and keep at it. And sometimes people will get breaks. You never know. You have to keep that positive mindset that there is a place in the world for my story. And sometimes when you have a positive mindset, amazing things will happen. A couple of things that have happened in my life, it really humbles me because I didn't have anything much to do with it. And those were things outside of my control. For instance, when I first started becoming a writer, I took a writing class. It was just a regular writing class in a community college. But the professor knew this very high-powered agent, and I didn't know any of that. I just took the class because it was being offered, and I wanted to learn. But he said, I really like your work, let me send it to this agent. And at that point, I didn't even know how difficult that is to get a really famous agent to look at your work. So I was like, okay, you want to send it, you can send it. I didn't even know enough to be grateful, only much later. I figured it out. But that was such a chance. It could have happened, it could have not happened. So it was certainly something outside of my control. So I tell my students, you do what is in your hands to do. Create the best piece of work that you can, and you'll be surprised at what opens up in the universe that you didn't even imagine. That's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, a good one actually. So when you look back on your successful career, is there anything you would have done differently? The question is very cliche. If so, what and why? If not, do you live your life without regrets or just go forward with it?
Yeah, well, the two questions are a little different because I think I'll answer the second one first, which is, in general, I live my life without regret because I think some years back I realized that regret is a completely profitless emotion. It doesn't help anybody. So I don't choose to waste my energy with regret. I mean, you learn things and then you move on and you try, if you made a mistake, you try not to repeat that mistake. But I think if I had to do things over, maybe I would have joined a creative writing program like the one in which I teach now at the University of Houston, because I see that the students get so much direction. When I started writing, I was like floundering. I didn't know what to do. I figured things out, but it took me a long, long time. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And our students, they really get so much direction, they get advice, their strengths and weaknesses are pointed out to them in a very, organized manner. It just cuts years of trying and failing and then finally succeeding out of their lives. So maybe I would have liked that opportunity. But other than that, I'm just very thankful for everything.
Actually, that's so wonderful. I would have never thought. I know at least 3 of my friends who are writers and they publish their ebooks and all, but they want a hard copy like yours to be published, and probably this advice would help them also.
I think so. I think the creative writing programs are very good because not only do you get a lot of really good quality advice from your professors, you're in a writing milieu where you get a lot of feedback from other writers. You also make very good connections because if you are going to a good MFA program, agents know about that, publishers know about that. It just makes it much easier for you to publish when you start publishing.
Yes.
And you're reading great stuff. You're reading stuff that, how would you even know to find that?
Right.
And really wonderful but obscure writers, really cutting edge experimental work. I mean, I wouldn't know those things if I weren't in a creative writing program listening to people talk about them.
Right.
So,
Which part of research while researching Palace of Illusions, and let me tell you, that is the most popular book among the people that we know. So she has been, like, we talked about her so much that now she wants to read it. So which part of research while researching Palace of Illusion was the most interesting?
well, I think I really enjoyed looking at the different versions of the Mahabharata because I kind of knew this.
Fine. Which author's work do you like to read for pleasure, and which authors inspire you?
Well, I mean, the ones who inspire me also give me a lot of pleasure, but I think I know what you mean, who are the serious writers
Yeah.
that I read. Well, I read a lot of South Asian writers because I want to know what other people are working on. Writers like Amitabh Ghosh, Rohinton Mistry, Bharati Mukherjee, Jhumpa Lahiri, then Anita Desai, her daughter Kiran Desai. I like all of
daughter's a
them.
writer too?
Yes, she won a big prize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I like all of those writers very much. I like reading multicultural voices. So people like Maxine Hong Kingston, Sandra Cisneros, Christina Garcia, Toni Morrison. These are some of my favorite writers. I like reading Caucasian writers. I find things that I learned from people like Tim O'Brien, Charles Baxter. But some of my greatest inspirations are the old classics, the novels of Tolstoy, for example, the novels of Tagore. They have really, really touched my heart. And, they've given me a standard. I think to myself, if I could write a novel like they're writing, that's what I want. That kind of understanding of human life, that kind of perception of depth. That's really special.
And what is your favorite music?
What's my favorite music? I think my most favorite music is silence. Truly. Like before I used to listen to music a lot when I was driving, but now I really like silence. I mean, silence is a music of its own. I'm becoming more and more fond of that. But beyond that, I like Indian music, I like classical music, I'm fond of spiritual music, so I like bhajans and stotrams and things like that. I listen to the Beatles.
Yeah. And if you had a book club, what would the club be reading now?
If I had a book club, actually I do have a book club and we are reading something. We are reading Great Soul by Lelyveld, the book on Mahatma Gandhi's life. So that's what we're reading.
Okay. So a common setting that you use in your stories is Indian women immigrating to USA and the life she faces here, and she reflects back. So have you seen a change in the young women who immigrate now versus 20 years ago?
Definitely, there has been so much of change. Immigration is a continuously evolving process, and it's very important to kind of catch that difference. When I immigrated in the 70s, there was so much I did not know about America. That was the pre-information age. I just didn't have access. I came here with some very mistaken notions of what American life would be like. I think people who are immigrating now, just because of the internet, because of TV, because of so many other things, they just know so much more. They have so many connections. They are just in a much more knowledgeable and informed position.
Yeah.
And there's also the movement back and forth has become much more fluid, much easier. When I came, I didn't have money to go back. It was a big deal to go back to India. I didn't go back for many years. I lost touch with all of my friends. I kept in bare minimum touch with my family. People who move now, they don't have that problem. You know, you have email, you have Skype, you can stay in touch with everybody.
And that's a problem as well, that you're in constant touch all the time.
You have to know
how to say.
You have to know when to say no.
So what about your kids? Do any of them want to be writers?
Well, they both love reading. They're both good writers. Beyond that, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. How old are they?
One is in college, one is still in high school.
Yeah, Arav and
Anand and Abhay. Yeah.
So I've always heard that books have their own minds. How true is that?
That is very true. Every once in a while, something will start happening in a story or a novel that I didn't intend. A character will appear out of some place that I didn't intend, and they'll start doing all kinds of strange things that I didn't want them to do. But it is wonderful when that happens, because that means the story has generated an energy of its own. So I have learned to really allow that to happen and to just see where the story takes me.
Which of your own books is your personal favorite, and do you actually read your own books after writing them?
I have to say the books are like my children, so I love them all in different ways. I think perhaps the newest, The Baby, is always my favorite, so right now that could be one amazing thing. I'm also very fond of The Palace of Illusions, just because it was such a different kind of enterprise, the retelling of an epic. And, you know, I'm just getting ready to do that again with the Ramayana, retelling it from the point of view not just of Sita, but of several of the women.
So is it Ravan's wife, Mandodari, that you're trying
Mandodari is going
Yeah.
to be one of them.
Lakshman's wife.
But there are many important
So there are going to
women.
be a lot of characters and main protagonists?
And the voices will come back and forth in the novel.
Yeah, that is sounding very interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I saw your blog, there's so many cooking recipes there.
Yes.
That must mean you enjoy cooking, right?
Only sporadically. I don't like to cook all the time. When I'm in the mood, I like to cook. And when I'm in the mood, I like to cook like what I'm in the mood for cooking. And this is a problem because that's not necessarily what my family wants to eat at that time.
So, but what is your favorite cuisine?
I like all kinds. I like creating my own dishes. I have some blog recipes that are like fusion. I'm vegetarian, so I cook with a lot of tofu. So I really like experimenting with tofu dishes. But I think my favorite is actually Asian cuisine, like Chinese, Thai, Indonesian, that kind of cuisine. I like Indian food. I think if I don't eat it for a long time, I get I get deprived.
Yes.
But other than that, I don't want to eat it every day. That's why.
So I read about Maitri. You are one of the founders, right?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes,
talk-
I'm one of the founders of Maitri, which is a wonderful service for women. It's in the San Francisco Bay Area. Maitri helps women who have been in situations of domestic violence or abuse, and they help these women start their lives over. So I think that's a really important job to do. We work with South Asian and South Asian American women, and we've helped over the years. I think Maitri now must be about over 20 years old. we've helped a lot of women, and that's been a real joy. In Houston, I work with a similar group called Daya. I'm on their advisory board. And there too, we've helped a lot of women start their lives over.
What is one single question that you wished people stopped asking you?
I'll have to think about that one. One single question that you...
Or maybe a few.
Maybe.
What do you read?
No, I don't
What do you think about
mind.
Mistress of Spices?
The movie. No, I don't mind, really. The people can ask me anything they want. If I don't want to answer, I won't.
So we are at the end. These were my questions. Is there anything you would want the interview to end with? And
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I was just, as a process, as your writing process, do you have your, I mean, not the books where you're doing retellings, but when the books that the plots are your own, are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Do you have everything laid out before?
You know, more than before. Nowadays, I plot more. Before, when I started writing, I was very serendipitous. Let's see where this takes me. But that really takes you in so many different directions. You have to backtrack. You have to cut out lots of portions. It wastes a lot of time. I think now, and I tell my students this, that at a certain point, in the very beginning, perhaps you allow the imagination to take you along. But pretty soon, especially in a longer piece like a novel, you should have, as the creator of that piece, you should have a good idea of where you want to go, what you want to focus on. You don't necessarily know the ending, but you need to know the direction. So.
did you have any questions?
No. I'm still wowed by her answers.
And what did you think about Mistress of Spices, the movie?
Well, I just, first of all, I really like Gurinder Chadha. I mean, I like her a lot.
I loved her Bended.
Bended Like Beckham
Beckham,
was,
right.
and even Bhaji on the Beach was so
Right.
good, right?
Bhaji on
So-
the beach, yeah.
So I think overall, I was very honored that they wanted to make the movie. And I like many things about the movie. I think the movie went off on a romantic tangent much more than the book did. And the book dealt with a lot of serious immigrant issues, and that was at the center of the book. But the movie is much more, the romance is at the center of the
I
movie.
don't even remember.
It's only
Romantic.
a romance.
Yeah, I only remember romance.
No, but the movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I mean, the other people come in, but they come in for such brief periods that they don't make an impression. They don't leave an impression. But, I'm very happy that the book got made into movie. I do believe that many people saw the movie and perhaps they did not know about the book before and they came and read the book. That is always the hope when a book is made into a movie. One amazing thing has just been optioned, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we find a really good director for it.
And a producer as well, right?
We have several producers. They need to raise more funds, so they want more co-producers. Yes.
Okay. So anything.
So if anyone's watching this and you have lots of money and you don't know what to do with it, write to me and I'll tell you.
Yeah,
You
and
should
no
find
actors.
several
You're not
index.
looking for actors.
Yeah.
The director will decide the actors. So
You
So,
should find several
if
of them in
you-
Texas with oil money.
If you had to end the interview with a note for writers, children, women.
well, I think I would like to end by saying I am every day so blessed, so thankful that this is what I do, even when it's hard. And it's often hard to be a writer for many reasons. But the joy, the satisfaction when your writing goes well, when you've created, when someone comes to you and it says that the book has touched your life, that is such a great joy that I would not want to exchange that for anything.
Thank you so much, Chitra. It was
Sure.
a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.